At noon, back to one of the biggest stories of the day. We are following the historic change in Cuba. Today, a U.S. delegation is beginning 2 days of negotiations in Havana in hopes of restoring diplomatic relations with the communist island. Let's go live to Havana and CNN's Patrick Ottman with more details. Patrick, what can we expect starting today with these meetings?
Good afternoon, and it was historic today to see U.S. delegation arriving here in Havana, and we're expecting U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Roberta Jacobson to be arriving right about now. She, of course, is the highest-ranking U.S. official to come here in about 35 years today. Officials today really focused on migration affairs, making sure that migration from Cuba to the United States is, as they say, legal and safe, trying to crack down on illegal and dangerous crossings of the Straits of Florida between Cuba and South Florida. Tomorrow is really where it gets interesting, where they're going to start negotiating the reopening of embassies, the reestablishment of diplomatic relations. And there we're hearing from Cuban officials. That's where Cuban officials are expected to bring up issues like the U.S. Economic embargo on Cuba, the so-called wet foot, dry foot law. And U.S. officials, on the other hand, are telling us they really can't negotiate those kinds of bigger items that are really up to the U.S. Congress, but they want to talk about allowing U.S. diplomats to travel outside of Havana, increasing staffing here among U.S. diplomats to really be able to prepare for the influx of American visitors that, under the loosening of travel restrictions, we expect to start seeing very soon, as more and more Americans are going to take up the new opportunities to travel and visit Cuba legally. Walter?
Well, Patrick, you had mentioned that day one is going to be a focus on migration, and you mentioned that Cuba is going to be pushing to eliminate the United States policy, the wet foot, dry foot policy. What is the United States going to push for?
You know, the United States really is looking to make, if there is going to be a U.S. embassy, and both sides say they expect that there'll be a U.S. embassy opening within the next several months, and of course a Cuban embassy in Washington, D.C. But what the U.S. is telling us is if there's going to be a U.S. embassy here, it has to act like U.S. embassy. U.S. diplomats need to be able to travel, need to be able to engage with civil society, need to have more rights that they enjoy, and frankly, in almost every other country where there are U.S. embassies. Walter?
All right, our Patrick Ottman live in Havana for us today. Thank you very much.